Welcome to Rainbows Rising, where we ascend together. I'm your host, Rainbow Raaja, and I have a very special guest for you all today. I have Justine Serebrin, and she is going to talk about intuitive art and her intuitive tattoo style. Welcome, Justine. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So I want to just jump right in. And if you could just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you found, your art style and how that came to be.
Yes, I would say it began one afternoon. I was about 5 or 6 years old. My mom always had, I was really lucky. I think I chose my mom, or she chose me. We chose each other. She knew she was going to have an artist kid. And so we had this art room in our house. And so we were sitting in there one day and I said, I don't know what to paint or draw today. And she said, well, what if we paint to music? Let's just turn on the radio and see what comes on. I suggest you try this, guys. This is really cool. And this is something I teach now and I call it intuitive painting. And it's something I do a workshop with like every Monday now. So it's really like the basis of how I make art is from this one afternoon with my mom. So she says, okay, so just turn on the radio and just paint and draw whatever you feel from the song. I was like, whoa, cool. Okay. So I just listened to it and I felt into like the melody of it. And then I began to paint. I don't even remember what I painted, but I remembered how that day felt, you know? And so that has informed everything I do now, to the oracle card deck I made, to the paintings I make, and to the way I do the intuitive tattoo ritual process too. So I am trained, like I just committed to art, throughout my life. Like I knew when all I wanted to do was paint as a kid and draw. I couldn't wait for art class. I knew that in high school, I wanted to go to an art college. I wanted to take all of the art classes at school and make a portfolio. And I only applied to one school, art school, and I just made it so I would get in there. And I did. And so I have this formal art training too. And at that time, my spirituality was really like coming to the surface as well. And I was having these, it really felt like this, like a pressure, like I was in a pressure cooker of trying to find answers. I just felt the desire, the seeking desire for spiritual answers to this world, and why I felt such like an alien here, and why I felt like I didn't belong here and this wasn't my home and I wanted to be in the stars somewhere. Like, what is all this about? And what, like, there's got to be more to this life than anyone's letting me know about, you know? And so I just became like crazy hungry for spiritual answers. And at that time, that started to inform the work I was making in art school. And that kind of, I began to channel around that time too. And I didn't really get what I was doing. And it was actually like turning people off from my art in school. People were like, don't talk about that. That's weird. And that makes us not like your art as much. You just sound kind of crazy, you know? So it's really not
Hey, but everybody
encouraged.
likes like Da Vinci, Van Gogh, he cut off his ear, right? Talk about
Right?
crazy.
Right? You're right. Good point. It just wasn't like it wasn't valued, and or the way I was talking about it was too out there for the art world or something like that, you know. So yeah, I just like found ways to develop both sides of myself. And then yeah, now I'm doing all these different kinds of spiritual art and teaching it now too. That's a long
It's kind of
answer,
crazy
but
how a lot of times for us we start off, and we when we start to explore our spirituality, we kind of have to keep it kind of quiet and keep a professional uh front until we make it a little bit, until we have enough people supporting us that we can kind of let loose. I noticed that about a lot of professionals in the spiritual field is, you know, we all have to have this very professional and put together front before we go, okay, by the way, this is what's behind the curtain, you guys. Haha.
yeah, yeah. I think it's changing a little bit because people are seeming to be more open to this new kind of way of thinking about
hmm
the world and
But that
energy and all
first
that.
wave,
Hmm.
that first wave.
Yeah.
So, so you started noticing that your art had taken on this intuitive direction in art school.
Yeah.
Um, when did you notice that it had a deeper capacity to heal or to activate people? When did that come into play, that it became more of a more than just a visual and more of a like a physical sensation in people's bodies?
That's a really good question. So that is when I started listening to guided meditations to alleviate anxiety. Like I couldn't sleep. Right now, I sleep all the time, anywhere, like a baby, and I don't like have any problems with that. So I think this really helped. So I would find guided meditations like anywhere I could, and that's what would like lull me to sleep. And then I started to do them um, whenever I like felt like I needed to calm down or wanted to relax. So this one evening I did a guided meditation. The first 30 minutes was of this woman talking, guiding you through. The second part was just theta brainwave music, just music. And it was in that last 30 minutes. So I'd already like really relaxed. And in that last 30 minutes, I had this vision. Like this is my one of my first visions. And it was of me. It was so clear and different than anything I'd ever like seen. So this was something I felt was like when they talk about like a third eye activation or something, seeing something like as vivid as a vivid dream, but you're awake and it looks different and feels like it's sort of like someone's projecting a movie in your mind's eye, if you can imagine that. That's how it looked to me. It was like I was watching myself, my future self, sitting in this beautiful room, light wood floors, floor to ceiling windows looking out over the ocean. And there's a woman sitting in front of me, and I'm tattooing her back. At this time, I didn't tattoo. Like, I really didn't know anything about it. I had a tattoo or two, but I didn't really consider doing that. That wasn't a part of my life. I wasn't like in love with tattoos or anything like that. So this is why it also felt profound to me. So I'm doing this tattoo on her back, and we're sitting on the floor, and something, it feels sacred. It feels and looks like nothing like anything I've ever seen before. And the tattoo I'm doing on her, I know it's healing her or transforming her in some way. And I just thought, like, wow, how do I get from here where I am like anxiety ridden, a weirdo artist, like broke and don't know what to do next with my life, and how do I get from here to this like peaceful, gorgeous studio healing someone through doing a tattoo? Are you kidding me? Like, how does that happen? So I just came out of that and was like, whoa, okay. What's the first action I would need to take? I would need to learn how to tattoo, right? And then I would need to learn like more about spirituality and what healing is, and so that led me on this journey of discovering how to get there. And that's still in my future. I do have Earth Altar Studio, which is a tattoo studio, like a sacred Zen like space, but there's no ocean view yet. So there's still one more phase, like maybe a few more until I get there. Who knows? And that's the big vision that
Well,
changed
I
everything.
know I have seen quite a bit of your work on your Instagram, and I've actually seen people who have your work on their bodies, and like it really is a very different style. Where most people would come to a tattoo artist and have an idea of what they want, and they're like, "Here, give me this little bird." You do something very, very different. It's more formless than formed. And
Mm.
it's when I saw the tattoo in person, it almost looked like it was in motion, which is like really, really interesting because it really is just a lot of lines and dots and colors kind of weaved into each other. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what what is your process for coming up with those tattoos, and like where did you get that specific idea, because it really is not like anything I've ever seen, and I have quite a few tattoos.
Yeah, so that the process has evolved, over a decade or more. More. I'm 35 now, and I started um like 2008, 2009. And when I started tattooing, I was just like, my motto was like, I'll do anything, like anything anyone wants. If I can figure out how to tattoo it, I'm going to tattoo it. So I learned how to do everything I could. Um, and then my style started to come through.
Mm.
And it was, it was different than the way I paint. So I had my painting style, and then I have my tattooing style. And and I did a big part of this that like anchored in the intuitive ritual experience that I offer now was making the oracle card deck. Once I did that, like it was the it was the point that like made it was the initial point to creating the ritual for the tattoo
Mm.
experience. Like that was the intention for that deck, which is now called the Rainbow Warrior Activation Deck, which is like kind of a whole nother thing than the original deck in some ways. That's it. Yay. So,
Yes, your
yeah.
deck is amazing. You and Tracy did an incredible job. When I
Thank
went
you.
to your workshop, and what's so strange is I don't even know how I ended up at that workshop. I don't I don't I went to that store like one time, and then something happened. I like suddenly was there at night for a workshop at night, and like we just all sat down, a bunch of people were there. We all were handed decks, and they were like, "Okay, now guess what the cards are." And I remember it was so very clear to me. Like the pictures, I did not need a book. The messages were clear. It was like the pictures themselves spoke. I thought that was so magical because, I mean, how many decks can you just pick up and suddenly know how to use? It's
That's
one of
so
those
cool.
decks.
That's what happened. Like that's why Tracy wanted to publish it, or why I was so excited by her wanting, to let's do it, because she picked up the cards, this original deck I made, like I was saying, for this tattoo process, she found me at a farmer's market and she's like, let me try them, and plays with them. And she knew what the cards meant. She knew even what my intentions were for the cards. And it was magical. And then so she helped me publish this deck and wrote this incredible guidebook for it, which offers so much depth to the cards that take them to a whole nother realm. She makes
Yeah.
them so powerful. So
Yeah, I love kind of, she always kind of poses certain questions and like plants different thought forms. So when you're reading her excerpt, on top of your interpretation of the card, you're kind of like, oh wow, and then it takes you on this other kind of, I guess, journey, discovering what that card can mean for you. I think that's really, really beautiful. So we now know that you went to college for art, um, was not as well received as you might hope. You had a vision for tattooing, and then you decide to do it. So what practices besides these guided meditations, and listening to music and creating, what other practices like really, really helped you in connecting with your flow, connecting with kind of your source energy, that helped you like create and just find yourself through your art?
yeah, that's a great question. So it's meditation. It is sitting and being open to divine, like your own divine guidance, your own higher self's messages, your own inner intuition's voice, listening for that, and just being willing to sit and listen, I think, is the number one practice that has helped open so much up for me. Sorry, the gardeners are here. I don't know if you can hear them, but
It's fine. I'm sure you'll hear my kids at some point. So
okay. Well, yeah, so I think like sitting in meditation, that's how I found, that's how I got the wisdom to make the oracle card deck.
Mhm.
And that's how I sit with each person before a tattoo, and I do a guided meditation for them. And on their behalf, I'm feeling into their energy, and I'm feeling all this swirling energy, and then I'm translating that into a tattoo. And it's because of that meditation and that time
Wow.
that we sit in silence, feeling into those spaces where we don't really give each other permission. We don't give, like, our world is busy,
Hmm.
so you really have to carve out space and time and energy for that to happen. And I think that's what grounds us. That's where brilliant ideas anchor in. That's where we access this. I always have this vision of this, it's like a cosmic tree, and it grows fruit, and if you can be quiet and still and have like just super keen awareness to it that it exists, you may be able to grab the fruit off and take these brilliant ideas and bring them into like tangible manifested form. It's
Yeah,
that
that's a
silence.
beautiful image. Well, do you have any meditations that you would mind sharing with our listeners to help them connect with their creative flow?
Yeah, I actually do that every Monday. I do it
Hmm.
live. um if you go to justineserebrin.com, you can sign up for the free Monday live painting workshops, intuitive painting workshops. And to start each session, I do a guided meditation, and it's different every time. And that informs what we're creating. We like release stuff. There's activations in it. It's really cool. So sometimes I
You
send out
said this was, how much is this?
free.
It's free. Do you
Yeah,
guys hear
every
that? It's
every
free.
Monday.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to sign up for that.
Yeah, it's fun. And you can paint, or you could draw, or you could sew, or you could dance, or you could write, do anything creative. It's really just a sacred creative space. So we spend a few minutes. It's 11 a.m. Pacific time to 12 p.m. Sometimes we go over.
That's amazing. Thank you for holding that space for
Yeah,
everybody. And I will now be making that my Monday routine
it's pretty
because
cool.
I have
And
a
kids
lot
can
of
do it.
creative things. Oh, really? Kids can do
Yeah.
it too?
Yeah, kids can do it too. So they can join in with you. They love it, actually. There's a lot of kids that jump in with their
Awesome.
parents. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Mhm.
So, let's see. Uh, bes- so besides this art program and your current projects, are there anything else that you're working on? Is there anything that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this course I'm teaching. It's called the
Mm.
Intuitive Artist Mastery Code, and it is um, an intensive. I'm about to sneeze. Maybe it's an intensive course that I guide you through the process of creating your own sacred, handmade, original oracle card deck, and then guide you in through a process of making sacred collections of artwork that you can build a business off of. As I guide you through the process of all of that. And oh, someone's at my door knocking a lot.
Do you want me to
uh,
pause it? I can pause.
is that possible?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
So
thank
we
you.
will,
So
yeah,
sorry.
we'll be right back. All right. So I noticed that you have a class. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so yeah, I'm so excited about this. It's called the Intuitive Artist Mastery Code course. And I am walking people through this process of making their own sacred oracle card deck. And after that, then creating sacred collections of artwork. It's a lifetime access course, and we get these live studio hour times to create and talk about the process and just really create a thriving intuitive art business. So it's anyone that's like really dedicated and wants to be devoted to their art practice so they can thrive as an intuitive and an artist. And so I help build up the intuitive part of yourself, and then the creativity, like actual tangible techniques and tactics and business stuff, so we can really like bring it into the world and be supported by it too. So I'm so excited about this, and it's like officially launching now, and we're in the middle of our first session, and then I'm opening it up again, and it's just a magical, creative, sacred container of creativity. It's so fun, so fun.
It That totally sounds fun. I actually tried to start an Oracle deck like about 4 years ago.
Really?
I was gonna combine like tarot and totems and uh, fairies and craziness, but it was very time consuming.
Yeah.
And I juggle a lot because I'm kind of like the magician. I'm like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
podcast and business and kids and all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things, writing books, and
Wow.
finding time to do that was definitely difficult. And I just kind of was like, I'll put this on the back burner, and I did. And it would be really cool to be able to, you know, take 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 up that hobby again. So
Yeah.
tell me, how much are you charging for this course?
Well, we're I'm sort of in this like testing phase right
Okay.
now, and I like to like have I do sort of like a a session with each person before to make sure it's a really good fit, and then I work with like we can do like a payment structure that fits and flows. So we can definitely talk more about all those details. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm mostly saying it for our listeners as well.
I know, I know.
But
Um,
so that's really, something I really resonate with is when I meet different healers and there's some healers who are just really money gung ho, and there's others that are kind of walking the old way. And I have memories of a time before when we as a collective of healers would just provide for the collective. And so I want to honor that, the fact that you're like, I want to work with people, I want to be able to facilitate what is best for them and provide what is going to help nurture them the most. And like that is like, it warms my heart to hear, because there are very few people who are walking that path nowadays. So thank you for doing that work and for that sacrifice, because it's like a big deal. It really is. Like,
yeah.
probably not a lot of people recognize that, but I do.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah. It's it's a tricky thing, and it's an interesting subject to really dive into, talking about like the energy exchange. As someone who's like super spiritual, and like I see this vision for New Earth, right? And I see the reality of our economy right now, and like I see through the dollar bills and this like it's such a game. It's a game, and it literally is like the Monopoly game. Like it is. Have you seen Zeitgeist Moving Forward?
No.
And anyone, it's free on YouTube. Go watch it. It's an incredible documentary. Interesting. It's like really intense at the beginning, and then it kind of like opens up into like a really interesting viewpoint of what's possible. And
Mm-hmm.
that shows an example of like, talks about this idea that like money is so made up, and like in this new paradigm, like how is that old system going to work in this new system? Well, I don't think it does. So I like, my spiritual consciousness is like, well, we don't need it, but then my physical life here and bodied, like, okay, but we're still in this paradigm, so we do need this energy exchange. This is how we exchange energy now, is through
Mm-hmm.
money and numbers. And so how can we create a conscious like exchange rate, and sometimes like people, it's really interesting, like because it's an energy exchange. If And I think of like when I'm selling the course and other things too, or like a tattoo experience, it's like, okay, this it takes all this energy
Mm-hmm.
to give this experience, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then for the person to be ready, consciously, energetically, everything, to be able to fully receive it, that takes an energy exchange as well. And so I'm looking for the people that have the right vibrational match to that. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Absolutely. I do a very similar thing. I encourage people who are not doing so well on the financial front. I'm like, I will work on you if you have something to exchange. And that can be time. It can literally just be, if you're good at art, make me some art, and I will evaluate the amount of energy put into it, and I'll give you exactly what it is back. I've worked with several homeless people who, they could not afford a healing session. They were like, I really need a change in my life. And I was like, what can you offer me? And like let's find an exchange. I know you don't have money, that's okay. And they were able to, like, I think they ended up helping me with like moving some furniture or something around my house. And I was like, cool, thank you so much for the help. And that was enough for me. I was like, here, come on back to my office and we'll do this session. And um I I feel that that is really important to remember, that not everybody is bountiful in one area of their life or another, and that they might have talents elsewhere, like writing music, or maybe they're really good at business matters and they might be able to help you in that regard. So I respect that, you taking a look at all the different situations that might be affecting someone's life and finding the perfect balance of energy exchange there.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. So before we actually started this podcast, we had gotten a little bit into the light codes that are involved in your art. And for those of you who don't know what light codes are, they're really just energy forms that come through either through music, through art. They are meant to activate us. They are meant to help us ascend to a higher vibration, and they change and heal our wounds and thought patterns. And when I was activated, I took a look at Justine's Rainbow Warrior activation deck, and I noticed that her art was heavily light coded. And I just want to hear from Justine what, how that came about, and how all that ties into everything here.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. So I think of like there's light language, which is it it seems that people are, like they're getting activated and these symbols are coming through that they're drawing. So beautiful. That hasn't happened to me. Okay, so I don't draw that way or paint that way, and I don't do designs like that in my tattoos. Um, but what I am conscious of is when I begin a painting, I am always in a intentional mind space. I have a clear intention of what the goal of the group of paintings is for. If it's for someone in particular, I do set a little it's like a prayer or a an intention is just like a phrase or a word that means that, or for an example, like I wish that my intention for this painting is that it helps to bring awareness, healing, higher levels of consciousness, energy frequency, to elevate someone to their next level, or to fill in the spaces where they know they want healing, or they want to manifest stuff, or they, like whatever the intention. Sometimes if I'm doing a commission for someone, I ask them to write down what their intentions are, and I'll literally write those in to the raw canvas and then begin the painting. And I'm also using sacred geometry in my art as well. So that is a huge part of the pieces. So like sacred geometry is the code of existence, of matter, of all living things, and it is the like sacred order of how things grow and evolve, and so that is embedded in so much of my art, and I think that's sort of something that's translating to people on an unconscious, subconscious level. And I think that those, like having this intention to create these portals into other realms, to activate consciousness, like I think that is all you need to make art that's like encoded, is having the intention and sitting and being like this open channel vessel to okay, you also don't want to have it be like open to anything. You want to be like really clear. That I always say, um, to open up sacred space, I light a candle and I say, okay, my intention is that I am an open channel for only to divine love light, and for everything that comes through is for the highest good of all, no matter what. Okay, no matter what, only divine love light. Like, I'm really clear. Then I can be safe and open up my energy and trust what guidance is coming through, and trust the images that I'm making and seeing. And I think that that helps to make the work, um, from the highest vibration possible from me at that time. If you look back at my older work, like from college, even before that, like I wasn't setting intention. I didn't even know that you could do that. And my work was dark, literally like mud colors. My consciousness changed and now it's like crazy vibrant, you know? It's really interesting. And so you can see my consciousness evolving, like coming from like black and white and like really dark umbers and like dark faded out blues to this vibrant rainbow spectrum that I now work with. And like I just think that, I mean, they do that in movies too. If you notice, like unconsciousness is depicted in movies through black and white, and consciousness is shown through color, like even in The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been doing art like pretty much my whole life as well. And especially in my teen years, I drew anytime I do art or poetry or anything, I always just kind of go into kind of a trance state. And I just had a lot of art that was not so pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of dark, morbid type of art. And at the time, I just thought that, it was like how I was actually feeling inside. Like I was not the happiest person in my teen years.
Me
But
too.
what's interesting is that I really was channeling, this energy, because ever since I've been a conscious individual, that stuff doesn't come through. It doesn't. And if I start to feel that way, I just change my mindset. I'm like, no, I don't want to be this, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to. I'm just gonna do this other thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to like look back on that art and go, God, I wonder who was coming through with this. Wonder what was happening here. Is this a
Uh-huh.
theme? We have 3 pages of this theme going on.
Uh-huh.
It's
I
uh
do.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. It's just really interesting how art really does evolve. Especially when you are connecting with something beyond yourself, because I have some really interesting pieces that, if I pulled everything out, I put it all out, like there are pieces that are not at all in the same style, like just completely not not mine, you know what I mean? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have anything that's like,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. I do think too, though, that sometimes it really is important for us to get this out, like get the demons out. Like, let's see them.
Mm,
Let's look at it, because that is, it used to scare me sometimes, like when the beings start to come through. And I do know that, like some really like high consciousness people will still have demons that they're facing. Like that's part of a kundalini activation too, right? Is like coming into awareness and coming into consciousness. You have to confront the dark equal to the light. To know yourself is to
mm-hmm.
know the darks and the lights, and to embrace all of it, because it's just another reflection of a part of ourselves. And so like allowing it to come through so you can see it and recognize and understand it, I think is so important. Like facing the demons, facing them, facing the scary stuff in life.
Absolutely. And
And
those
you
dark
know your strength
feelings.
when you do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember, that same, thing, like what I had drawn was, like I said, morbid, not so great. And it was always this like person with a hatchet. Why? I don't know.
Mm.
And it was you know, just really dark and scary. And I know looking back, I look at that art and I'm like, it's really crazy how I was able to get that on paper. And like at the time I was not the most enthusiastic about living.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really happy I did, survive that time, and I don't encourage acting on any of those feelings and to seek help. Uh, that's important to let people know.
100%.
But
Yeah.
the art was really therapeutic for me, and like even though some days I connected with that darker side, there were other days that my art had like incredible vibrant colors, and it had like swirling different beings and different worlds all like thrown together. I had like a beautiful goddess and aliens, and they were all swirling into the center of it, and just waterfalls and nature and fairies and all kinds of beautiful, interesting things kind of finding their way together. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a way for us to all connect to an intention. So if you're not feeling so great, you can connect to healing that, or you can connect to finding what it is that you need to heal that through art. And this whole month, I don't know if you've heard any of the other podcasts I've been doing this month, but I
Not
focused
yet.
on art and using art for healing to support this interview. And
Wow.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to know, do you have anything that you would encourage our listeners uh, to try or do so that they can connect with their ability to heal themselves through art?
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that came to mind was learn Reiki 1.
Right? Yes, so important. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Like that is just number one. And, or get some Reiki done by someone. They can do it distance, you know? Um, I think that is so powerful. So, so, so powerful. And um, just to be able to, I think working with someone else is really important. And being in, like, I wish I had found a supportive mentor or energy healer that I felt like I could work with regularly. Um, and there was one shaman woman that I found different healers throughout that I worked with and I learned from, and there were just these little, like, I would go to a few sessions with each of them and learn from them. And um, I even had a really traumatic experience with one who was manipulative and was trying to um, like pull my energy negatively. And that's a story for another time. But I think like being aware that, finding a mentor that has integrity and love that you feel safe with is key. And
Absolutely.
to work with someone that, makes you feel really safe is good. And to do that and invest in it, invest in your invest in your healing work. Take time, and I mean, like, not only money but time and energy to read books and to devour as much as you can, and to practice whatever you can to um, get the clarity and the inner strength, um, to a place where you feel that you have peace. Inner peace, I think, is the point. And I do go in and out of that. And so I'm constantly finding new teachers at new spaces and energies that I'm working with. I need different teachers for different things I'm going through and different levels I'm experiencing. So noticing when you're attracting a teacher, when someone shows up, and when to agree to work with someone for a period of time. And I think that has been massively important to my growth. It not only in like spiritual realms, but in business, in art, in the areas that I'm most passionate about growing, and constantly being open to growth, and investing in that. Like that's massive, massive.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of your guidance and for taking the time today to share your journey and your gifts with everyone. And if you could just take a moment and let everybody know where to find you, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
doing this with me. Really, really
Yeah,
cool.
I
Special.
appreciate it. So where can everybody find you? Where
Yeah,
can they
just
come take your classes and buy your tarot and
yeah.
get
Um,
tattoos?
yeah. So I think the best thing to do is go to justineserebrin.com or on Instagram at Justine Serebrin. Um, my website's probably the best, justineserebrin.com. And my tattoo studio is called Earth Altar Studio. And we're on Instagram too at Earth Altar Studio. And the Rainbow Warrior Activation Deck is on Amazon. That's the best place to buy it. And leave a review. That helps us so much too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. And for everyone out there, thank you guys for joining.
Thank you.
And
Thank
this
you.
is where we ascend together. Have a good day, you guys.